question that comes up about Christians turning in Christians when it comes to the end times. So I kind of want to just address that. I was just sitting here thinking about that as I built this fire. And because Jesus said in Matthew 24, when he's talking to the disciples about the end times, he says this in Matthew 24:24. For false Christs and false prophets will arise and show great signs and wonders, so as to deceive, if possible, even the elect. Now, he's referring to essentially those who are Christians, the elect, because it later says that, you know, he just in a few verses later, he says he gathers his elect when he's referring to the rapture after the tribulation, just a few verses later, of course, after the tribulation. So we're talking about the elect being deceived. And what does that look like? Well, the Bible also says that mothers will be turning in daughters and sons will be turning in fathers. You know, if you kind of think about like the 49ers, not the football team, but those who, I'm going to trust this for a little bit. And I'll throw a little bit more on there. But not the 49ers, the football team, but the 49ers, those who went to California during the gold rush. There was a bounty on Indian heads. Like you could kill an Indian and bring in his, her, or the child's head to the county office, and you get like $1 or something like that. So, you know, it's going to be similar to something like that, because you're going to be an outlaw, and your head is what they're after, according to the Word of God. They're after your head. So this is something that, you know, we have to wake up. Well, who is it that will be turning us in? Because atheists will not be worshiping the Antichrist. Let's start there. So we're talking about Christians who will be thinking he is a false Christ, because Jesus literally said, beware of false prophets. And then all of a sudden, here's this part where he's like, watch out for false Christs. And then the elect will be deceived because they'll be following those false Christs. I think it's imperative to really understand, well, what's the difference? Like, what is the difference between those two? I'm going to straighten this camera. Sorry about this. Like, what is the difference between the false Christians and the real Christians? Well, I think you can see it today, because really what you have in the church is you have this degree of people who are Christians by name only. And it's not necessarily that they're trying to deceive other people and make them think they're Christians. I think they're just deceived themselves, like Jesus said. You know, they're more concerned about the world than they are the kingdom of heaven, and that's how you know the difference. You know, there's very few people that kind of wake up every day and say, you know, how can we advance the kingdom of heaven today? And then there's the rest of the Christians, which I would dare to say is 95% of them, say, how can I advance my own kingdom today? And if you wake up every day and you're advancing your own kingdom, you clearly don't have the Spirit within, because the Spirit within would be telling you to do otherwise. And if you don't have the Spirit within, then your relationship with Jesus Christ isn't real, because that's a promise he said that you will have as that helper. So in the end, what it comes down to is that you have this vast majority of Christians sitting in the church now who, you know, I think they're just deceived. They were told they just got to say some words when they're young, and then that's it. They could just do anything they want. Many of them are going to church to hit on women. Many of them are going to church because that's what you do in that town. Many of them are going to church because maybe they're trying to find things, but they're so consumed by the world that they can't see the truth in Jesus Christ and who he is. And because of that, the Antichrist will deceive many. And many will be deceived. I mean, you could see the Christian church to some degree, or many people, I don't want to say, many people in the Christian church today, they do worship political figures. they do already. I mean, I haven't, I've never really seen the white evangelical church worship a political figure, to the point where they're building a gold statue of him and they're saying that he is the Messiah, or that he's the chosen one who's going to save them. It's really gross, because you can already see it. You can already see it. Like, if you wonder, well, how will that happen? Well, just look at it. It's real obvious how it happens, because it's happening right before our eyes. So there you go. I'm going to keep tending to this thing. I think it's about to go out if I don't tend to it a little bit more. Everything's soaking wet, just soaking wet down here, and cold and windy all at the same. We may will pick up a bit, but there you go. There's what I believe. Why will Christians be turning in Christians? For the obvious reasons. There'll be rewards for them. They'll be thinking they're the Christians because they're worshiping what they believe to be the false Christ. So you're really an outlaw, and there'll be a war of the saints going on. So there's a war taking place, and if you're a Christian, you're a real Christian, not a, in quotes, Christian, but a real remnant, then you are definitely going to be an outlaw. And because you're going to be part of the wrong side of the war in their eyes. Any thoughts or insight, definitely put that below.